Did you want to address the prompt or say anything while you was up here kneeling, or you just gonna chill out and eat and listen?
Sure. I'll FBA is everybody. So I'm a North American Indian.
Mm-hmm.
I FBA I'm still learning about it. Like from what I understand from my perspective, like I see the FBA as uh those people who are foundational to the creation of the United States of America,
Right.
and so I'm not uh, that, but our my community, right? Our communities, we have Euro-Indigenous, we have Afro-Indigenous, we have all sorts of, we have some full-bloods, right? Not very many, but our community, right?
So wait a
So
minute, Neil. You said you're a North American Indian. Did you say Indian?
yeah, yeah.
So is that from this country?
Yeah. So I'm Ojibwe. Like I live around the Great Lakes.
Oh, around
Yeah,
Michigan. Yeah, I'm from
yeah.
Michigan.
But I'm on the other side. I'm on in Ontario.
Oh, Ontario. Oh, so you in Canada?
Yeah, some of my ancestors signed some treaties with the Americans, but they didn't want to get pushed into Oklahoma. So they came, and a lot of the Potawatomis and Shawnees, they came and settled with Ojibwe that were already living around the Great Lakes instead of getting pushed into Oklahoma.
Oh, wow. Wow. So what's y'all story on the Black Indigenous people?
Uh,
What have you been taught and told?
we knew like our grandparents and my father, like we knew they were dark skinned, right? And we knew that the full bloods were darker skinned, but we knew that we always recognized the red race, and the BLK race, the
Wait,
white.
so the red race is what we call Native Americans, right?
Yeah.
So are you saying that I'm just trying to get clarification. So it was Black Indigenous here.
So, but they were red. Technically their phenotype was more like a red.
The copper
It's
colored people.
Yeah, and so yeah, so those were like, so I call this destiny switch kind of theory. I call it the de jure de facto because that's some of the language I've been hearing. And it's the idea that, so like, say, for example, the Lenape or the Six Nations or the Cherokee, Choctaw, all of them, Yamasee, that there was, what do you call it? Like the more melanated ones were pushed into bondage, and then the other ones, or the ones that mixed with Europeans somehow. So this conspiracy theory goes even further. They try and say that like Filipinos and Siberians were brought in like 200 years ago, and then somehow teamed up with the YT and then pushed all the melanated people into bondage, or slavery. And then but that doesn't work, and it doesn't work, right? Because that's not the truth. The truth is that in the westward expansion, that there was these conflicts, but some of the tribes in the colonies, they were technically like in Virginia, and that they were like almost like suzerains, right? So those early treaties, right after like the Tuscarora War, the Yamasee War, they weren't at those treaty tables, that those first treaties, like and when you think about them, they're like experimental, right? Because the true constitutional treaties, they don't come until after 1763. And that, well, for the Americans, not till after, so what do you call it, 1782, because in 1782 there was that proclamation where nobody could make Indian tribes couldn't make treaties with anyone else other than the federal government. Yeah.
So are y'all on reservations, Neil? When you can you? I want to know if y'all on reservations up there.
Yeah, yeah. So there's 2,200 reservations across Canada, and there's
So a lot of y'all. So was it indigenous people already in Canada, or most of y'all got there through them trying to relocate
so
y'all somewhere?
Yep. So that's a good point. So the ancestors, like through my through my patrilineal line, through my father's line, my father, his father, his father, his father, we are Potawatomis, right? And which means we're Anishinaabe people. And we came and we settled not too far because see, Michigan and Wisconsin isn't that far from, southern Ontario across
Right, right. I'm from
the
Detroit, so I know
Oh,
Windsor right across the bridge.
cool. Yeah, so I study those because I'm interested in those Hurons that were down there that are no longer there.
The Port Huron area.
Yeah, but there was actually a tribe of Onkawahonwe people, so there were Iroquois people, but they weren't part of the Six Nations, and they were called Hurons.
Hmm.
Yeah, and there was a band of them that signed a treaty in 1790, and we call it the McKee Treaty Pre-Confederate Number Two. Some people refer to it as the Treaty of Detroit because it was signed in Detroit, but there's
Mm.
actually another treaty called the Treaty of Detroit for like half of Michigan. And yeah, and but so this McKee Treaty, in that treaty and in the Treaty of Detroit, I have to read the Treaty of Detroit again, but in the McKee Treaty, there was a band of Huron that signed with the Three Fires, which is to say they were Anishinaabe, so the Ojibwe, Potawatomi, and the Ottawa, and all their chiefs signed underneath, and they had surrendered that portion of southwestern Ontario, which was relative, because when you move east to west, some of the treaties in, like, say, southwest Ontario, they might be like 50,000 acres or 500,000 acres. Some of the bigger ones are like a couple million acres. But when you move like into what do you call it, Western Ontario, and then to like the plains, so like Manitoba, Alberta, Saskatchewan, some of these treaties are like tens of millions of acres, right? So there was these bands inside that weren't even party to them, and so they got recognized, and their reserves were made after. But the big ones, their reserves are actually uh, what do you call it? Defined and reserved under the treaty, and then later on they became reserved under this policy called the Indian Act, which is non-constitutional. It's still a law, and it's in effect, and it impacts First Nations people, but it's not constitutional law. Like constitutional law is the treaties themselves, right? It's an amazing thing when you think about it, and that's why it really bothers me when I see guys trying to say, no, those aren't yours, but you know what I mean. But
Yeah,
everyone has their opinion, so that's why I'm here.
right. Yeah, they can have them. So what? So you said that some of the indigenous or the natives they got put into bondage. Why was that? Because they wouldn't sign the treaties.
Okay, yeah. Um, so we know that what do you call it? Indian native.
Hold on, Neil, and hold on. Hi, Telly. Hi, Jasmine. How y'all doing?
Hello. Good.
Hello,
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good, good.
What brought y'all over here? I'm
You
happy
guys,
y'all here, but what brought y'all over
I
here?
was interested to hear a little bit more. I mean, I'm Indigenous myself. I'm Ojibwe, and so I'm familiar with what he's talking about, and I just wanted to come up and hear everyone else's opinions.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
also Indigenous, and I came into your live the other day, and the panel was full, and there were quite a few people requesting up, and I didn't know if this was like a pro FBA kind of thing or
Yeah,
anything,
same.
but um,
Well,
I heard.
let me tell you, all voices are welcome here. I
Thank
am
you.
Black American slash FBA, but I don't hold echo chamber spaces.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was listening to what Nealon was saying, and yesterday when I was gonna come up, there was just too many requests. I was gonna say, I guess my biggest issue, first of all, I really didn't even know that this faction really existed
What faction? What
until
faction, Jazz?
I'm sorry, not to call, I don't know if faction is the right word, but FBA.
Hmm.
I just didn't really know that was a thing, or that like some of their beliefs that they hold. I just didn't I didn't know that was a thing until very recently. And the first thing I heard from somebody who claimed, was a self-proclaimed FBA, he was saying that the Native Americans in this country never were here first, and that we didn't exist, and that we were actually like plants. And
Okay, hold that thought. Let me make an announcement right now.
Okay.
Everybody who come up on the panel, we're going to have a civilized conversation here, okay? I hope everybody can, what's the word? It just lost me. Respect everybody's point of views. Please, let's have decorum one at a time. Okay, finish, Jess.
Well, anyway, so my first experience with her hearing somebody who's FBA speak was his opinion about how the Native Americans of this country were never here first. In fact, we didn't exist at all, other than to be built into the lie that we were taught by the colonizers. That we weren't that we weren't here first, basically, was the whole thing that I heard. And I was just very confused by that, and I guess a little bit more interested into how this theory or this belief or notion was come upon.
The belief that it was melanated indigenous people here.
No, so just specifically, like, I'm Kiowa, so I was talking about my tribe specifically, and I was asking him questions, and he was just saying, yeah, like, you guys were not here first. It's basically a huge lie that you ever existed, and things like that. Like, Sitting Bull was a plant, and he helped the colonizers, like, capture and bring over.
I have a deep dislike for Black people.
I'm sorry. What?
Do you? Hold on, I got this, Jess. You say you have a disdain for Black people?
Yes, I think that you guys complain about everything. You try to
Okay,
steal
well, no
what everybody.
problem. You have a good day, sir.
Yeah, you too. You too.
Okay, go ahead, Jess.
Anyway, I see people in the comments asking, did you ever think there's truth to it, and what's so confusing? What's so confusing to me is
Don't
that
worry about the comments, Jess. Just speak your mind.
Oh, okay. Well, what was so confusing to me about that whole thing, I had never heard that theory or that belief before, and I just don't know how it can be put up there as truth when there's like a lot of history to refute it. And so that's one of the things that I brought up to him, and he simply said that, the history that we've been told and fed is a lie, which most of it I will agree with, that we've been lied to a lot, especially in the public school system, about Indigenous Americans and things like that. But I never considered it to be true at all, because I know my heritage and my tribe. And so that was like the most confusing part. There's other things that I've heard that I can't really pin down right now to like give as an example, but
okay, wait a minute, hold on, because we got Neil in here. Sage, you Indigenous, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, hold on. And Telly, you say you Indigenous, right?
Correct.
Okay, Ishmael and or Original, are you guys? Okay, I see FBA. He not. Well, that's
my
a tricky
grandfather.
subject. Hold on.
My grandfather has indigenous heritage. Yes.
Okay, hold on. So, Original, what about you?
Black American.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell y'all right now. I claim to be Black American FBA. This is out of my realm. I have heard through my in my family that we were already here in Indigenous, but I don't know. I don't know a lot about that, but I am so happy you guys chose me to come to. So we're gonna open this up. So you say you was confused, Jess, because I'm learning too, just like y'all. Telly, you was confused
Yeah,
too.
I've actually sat in a couple of like panels, and I've heard a few different I guess iterations of the same. I don't want to say story. I guess history, and it just some of it I'm having a hard time connecting with, because it's just the timelines don't really make sense to me. And then they're also I think the one most pain point for me is when they bring up in settlement schools or Indian schools, and that's like a big pain point for our community because that's where a lot of our culture was taken from us, and they still find bodies buried by these schools to this day. So I still sometimes have a hard time understanding or accepting that we were actually something to learn to be Indigenous, because it was quite the opposite, and there's a lot of historical facts that can back that up.
Okay,
So
let
I
me
think
ask
that's
you a
part of it.
question, Telly and Jess, that I've
Yeah.
been, well, not really Jess, but looking at you, Telly, I've been like, how do you think, but there might be because I'm not trying to be disrespectful with this question, but I am curious to know, how do you think the native tribe today, how do you think they look so white?
It just depends, right? So we have like northern tribes, but like we have the ability to get very, very tan in the summer. And there's southern tribes that are very
No, I'm
tan.
saying coming from the original people.
Well, we don't consider like. What do you mean? What are you referring to?
So I can explain that. That's the, 300. So contact happened in different times. So in our region, in the Great Lakes or whatever, contact, happened at a certain point, and those first ones that came were the French, and those were the first.
Oh, okay.
And then
Okay, I
after
see
they
what you're
were then
saying
defeated
happened.
by the British, yeah, then they lost preeminence. They retreated back into Quebec. They had no trade relationships with the Indigenous people, and so these new traders came in and set up posts, and those were, the British and the Americans. Eventually, on each side, what I call the medicine line. It's the international border, and those tribes that existed along there, like we should have free passage along back and forth and be able to develop our own systems of economics and governance too, right? But the thing is, reconnecting with those ones that are over in the States, because the States and in Canada too, it can happen, but membership citizenship rules to get enrolled are more uniform in Canada, whereas in the States it might be like 1/16, or so you see a lot of these light skin, or or sometimes dark skin or whatever race they are.
It just depends. Blood quantum is different in each tribe. So some require 1/16, one require
So y'all do
1/4, and
DNA
1/2.
tests? Y'all,
You just have to prove lineage back to the land. So you have to put your birth certificate, your
so
parents' birth
y'all do
certificate, your
DNA
grandparents.
tests, Telly?
But it's not a requirement in order to be enrolled.
Okay,
Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm sorry, I don't mean to speak over anybody,
No, go ahead.
but I looked into trying to connect more with my heritage because my great grandfather was put into the missionary boarding schools, and his hair was cut. He was given a European name, and so he's kind of been lost on our family as far as us trying to trace our lineage. He was forced into the traveling ministry when he was 18. So his stories, other than what we've heard passed down through our family, are kind of lost when it comes to ancestry. But I will say that I did do some looking into it to be able to get like a DNA test to track some things down. And the Bureau of Indian Affairs will not even take your DNA sample to quantify like your blood quantum unless you have documents showing that somebody from your lineage and your family was a recognized tribe member. And so this is very hard for specifically my tribe, the Kiowa tribe, because they were the last to be forced onto a reservation, and they didn't really follow by the rules on the reservation. So what ended up happening was they gave land allotments to like some of the tribal leaders, and I think it was about like 40,000 acres or something like that throughout the Southwest. But anyway, yeah, so I can't really trace my DNA heritage. So there was a lot of tribes too who were refusing to put their DNA into a data bank.
but wait a minute, Jess. Sage. Can you bring some light to their questions for our side,
Well,
the black indigenous side? Can you
I
maybe
can
have a
speak.
chat with them?
Yeah, I'll speak on especially when it comes to DNA. None of the tribes accept DNA for enrollment. The most you can do, like she said, is if you have a cousin or somebody who's recognized in the tribe, you can do a DNA test independently to correct your genealogical tree to show to prove your lineage to the tribe. So that's the only way DNA can help you in this situation, but it is not that's not a tribal thing. It's more of an independent thing to help you fix your truth for
Sage,
enrollment.
hold
Go
on,
ahead.
Sage. Wait a minute, Jess. Neil and me and him was talking before Jess and Telly showed up, and he was saying about what happened to the Black Indigenous people before him and his family had to be relocated. Well, they anyway they ended up in Ontario, and he was saying about how the Black Indigenous people, a lot of them was put into bondage. So maybe that'll help Jess and Telly understand a little bit what some Black Indigenous people are saying, why they're saying they're Indigenous.
Well, can I just say one
Well,
thing real quick? I do absolutely recognize and believe and understand that there are Black Indigenous people.
Thank you.
Indigenous just
Same, I agree
means
as well.
like where you and your lineage originates from. But there's also a lot of history that I've looked into where Native American tribes, they were excluded from chattel slavery. I don't know the exact year, but when that started happening and they started being brought over, they were excluded from being able to be part of chattel slavery or be put into chattel slavery. So I know that there was a lot of tribes who would take and help, like specifically the children, the babies of the enslaved African Americans, and kind of try to save them from that and assimilated them into their tribes. And I mean, I think we can all agree that the reason that there are lighter phenotypes, darker phenotypes, is because there was a large mixing of all of it going on.
What about the Dawes Rose, Jess? Have you ever heard of the Europeans, some Caucasians over here paying $5?
Yes, ma'am.
So that's true. Go ahead,
Yep,
Sage. Sage,
that part's true.
okay,
yeah,
Sage, go ahead.
So when it comes to it, just like she said, being indigenous is just your lineage. If you descend from those people here prior to colonization, settlers. But when we're speaking of like how people are indigenous, there's many different ways. Like I don't descend from indigenous people that I know of that was enslaved. My indigenous lineage was never enslaved, and they were all dark-skinned people. I have photos of them going back to the late 1850s. There's some a little bit lighter, but majority pretty dark. And I think a lot of people like to put in this context, they connect the context of Black to African. So they make everybody African instead of, and overlook dark toned indigenous people. And I think that's the thing. A lot of Black Americans descend from a lot of these tribes, like first contact tribes that was described as dark skinned. Paintings and stuff like that, like from John White and John Lawson, the early ethnographers that went across the East Coast. They painted a lot of these indigenous tribes. They also traveled with them and notated things and customs that they did. So there's I feel like there's a contention with people trying to prove a colorism conversation within the indigenous community where there really shouldn't be a colorism conversation, because I mean, according to geneticists, there are no pure blood American Indians in North America. According to geneticists, I'm not saying believe them, but I mean, it's a wide tapestry of different skin complexions. Now, I don't really like to get into the whole the Indians fighting other Indians and who was here first. I mean, I think it's kind of irrelevant. I focus mostly on tribal things, like my tribe and intertribal alliances with other tribes within the indigenous community.
Also, can I just say one thing that I fully believe that all of us came from Africa, the motherland, as we migrated away from the equator. That's why our melanin changed. That's why our skin, our hair, and our eyes got lighter. but that goes back like, you know, however many thousands of years. People really don't like to talk about that part of history and genealogy, but I do believe in that fact.
Well, I mean, just
Wait, hold
just the
on.
same.
So,
Hold up,
does
hold
anybody
up, real
else get
quick.
a chance to like? Goodness gracious! Wait, hold up. All
Go ahead,
this is wrong.
Ishmael. Let's have a respectful one at a time conversation. I want all of our guests, including every single one of y'all up there, to feel like, you know, they have a voice and are respected. Go ahead, Ishmael.
Right. Hold on. This is all got to get straightened out. Like, first of all, she labeled herself as indigenous. Then she labeled Negroes, like Black Americans, as African Americans. So she labeled herself pretty much as like of, you know, this soil. Then she labeled blacks as African Americans. Then she claimed that she's also from Africa, but I thought she just said she was indigenous. See, you know, when these individuals that are not of the lineage, when we give them like a voice to pretty much rewrite history, this is what we get out of it. We get just a cluster of nonsense, a
No, we
cluster
giving
of
them a
mess.
voice to be heard, and we can all have a conversation. Me
No,
personally, I
of
can have a
course.
conversation with
I'm
anybody.
not against giving them a voice, love. I'm saying this is what happens when just because they have a voice don't mean I have to agree with them.
Oh,
And
no,
what they
you're right. So
saying,
what do you disagree with, Ishmael?
I disagree with. First of all, I disagree with her calling herself indigenous. Then in the next sentence, calling black Negro, she calling Negro American, like Black Americans,
Who you talking
calling
about,
us
Jess,
African
right?
Americans,
You talking
love.
about Jess?
Yes. Then she called us African Americans. Then the
Okay, hold
third
on,
strike.
Ishmael. Jess, do you understand what he's saying right now?
Yeah, I think I said a lot at once, and I think it's being confused.
You said
I
it.
just
You
Hold
believe
on, let her
compartmentalized.
answer, Ishmael. Go ahead.
when you talk about like being indigenous, that is like your lineage from where your people originated from. So when I say indigenous Native American, I'm saying that, you know, me and my tribe are indigenous to America, but that doesn't mean the lineage doesn't follow all the way back to the diaspora of Africa.
But I mean, who are you though? Like, you're not
What do
like
you mean, who am
what are
I?
you? Who are you? Like, stop trying to act like you
I
part of the lineage. Like, we not finna.
Hold
First of
on.
all,
Hold on. Listen. Okay, listen,
you get what she
Jess.
trying to do, love. Stop
Yeah,
acting like you don't. You know what she
yeah.
trying to
No,
do.
I'm about to respond. You don't have to tell me to stop acting like nothing, Ishmael. I'm
You
about
you
to
would.
respond.
Yeah.
Let me respond. Okay, Jess. So you're saying what you're saying because you're under the impression black people must have came from Africa, but I thought you said that you knew that it was black indigenous people here as well.
So I said I knew that there were black. I guess maybe if I said indigenous, I meant to say Black Native Americans because there was, you know, interracial relationships way back then
She believes
too.
our black skin comes from Africa. There.
So see, Jess, this is the dilemma. It's black people who, you know, who believe that they're indigenous and they been here. Because me personally, even though I don't say I'm indigenous, but I have an ancestor that was born in the Mississippi Territory, and we all know with that, you know, a lot of I guess Indians, indigenous people, you know what I mean? That's where they were, but I don't understand. I don't know. This is crazy. You know what I mean? Sage,
I
original.
think again, this is what I'm talking about is the colorism, right? So
Yeah.
the belief of thinking that dark skin can only come from Africa, but also knowing that dark skin was the precursor for all humans all over this world had dark skin before they had light skin. So it's like I wonder why is it so hard to think that, you know what? Just like everywhere else in the world, there was dark-skinned people and some light-skinned people. And for some reason, it has to only be attributed to Africa. I think it's like more of a territorial thing, and
Right.
that's problematic, especially when people ain't even claiming your tribe or nothing. They got their own history and everything, but it's just like, well, the only way they could be Black Indians is if they was mixed in.
Right.
We're like,
Ishmael, can you speak to
that's not
the
how it works, and
right?
it's really unfair, especially when you go through history and the earlier, again, when you go through the first contact tribes, when you go through the first explorers, a lot of them describe American Indians as dark skinned. When you look at the paintings of old, right? Before there was even photography, they painted. There's paintings all over the world, right? You seen people of dark skin, even in Mexico. When you look at the
Asia
codexes,
too, right? Isn't it
yeah.
some?
But I'm really just saying Americas, in the
But I'm saying,
Americas.
but isn't it dark skinned
Yes,
indigenous
there's
or
dark
native
skinned
people
Asians and
all
light
over the
skinned
world?
Asians.
Yes,
So
I know.
why is that so difficult to understand when it comes to the Americas? And I will even go further. I'm gonna be honest. I think it is because of the baked in racism
Yeah,
that was put into this
I'm
country.
thinking.
And a lot
Oh
of
my
people, a lot of
goodness.
indigenous people a lot of indigenous tribes were forced to whitewash their tribes. They couldn't marry people of dark skin or Negroes. They could only marry white people, or they was kicked out of their tribe. This is very common. And when you go back to the 1800s with certain tribes, you get what I'm saying? So the conversation of dark skin shouldn't really be that surprising. And if you have the thing is, if they ain't even of your tribe, why does it matter that